Now, while you were in the military, did you ever think about going up for higher ranking positions, or would you just focus on being, what'd you say, paramilitary?
Yep, I was a paratrooper in the
Paratrooper,
82nd
I'm sorry.
Airborne Division. But that's a great question because believe it or not, when I was initially stationed in Fort Hood, Texas, and then when I wanted to become a paratrooper, they transfer you to Fort Benning, Georgia for paratrooper school, and then you go on to Fort Bragg, the 82nd Airborne Division for your permanent station. But while I was there, um, I decided I wanted to be an officer in the military instead of a non-commissioned officer.
Okay.
And unfortunately, my first sergeant, let me back up a minute. It was actually in Fort Hood where I wanted to go to be a officer. And my first sergeant was from Alabama. And my number one job, believe it or not, every day in Fort Hood was for me to make his coffee, and that was my number one job. That's the way back in 1978, my first sergeant was I was truly that kind of guy. So
Yeah.
I would get up at 6:30 in the morning, go make his coffee, and then come back and get in my bed in my barracks. So once I applied, I wanted to go to West Point. I wanted to be a West Point military officer.
Hmm.
I filled out my paperwork, it took months to do that. And lo and behold, I turned it in to my first sergeant. A few months later, he said, "Oh, PFC Patterson, I missed your deadline. Can you believe that?" So I'm confident that that was intentional. So at that point, I knew I had to leave Fort Hood, and that's when I applied to be a U.S. Army paratrooper, and that's when I got shipped out to Fort Benning and then Fort Bragg, North Carolina, for my permanent station. But things happen. Yeah, so
Ooh.
that's what happened in Fort Hood.